half of us, but I know everybody up here deserves to be here. And it's crazy to think how vivid some of these memories are. Obviously, I remember all of those like it was yesterday. But I mean, I have other memories too. I remember getting hooked on distance running back in middle school. I think I started running because my older sister Katie started running, and I was like, hey, I can run, that'd be fun. But I remember driving all over Ohio, even to Wisconsin with my dad for Nike Nationals, to different road races. And I still credit my dad with the love of oldies music, having listened to it all the way there and all the way back. I remember nearly every race at Galleon because it was my absolute favorite course. It had these gentle rolling hills, like shaded trails throughout it, opportunity for all the spectators to be able to cheer us on basically throughout the entire race, so you never felt alone. I remember the district meet, specifically my junior year on that course, trying to qualify for the first time as a girls team ever in the school history. And we did it, and it was about the most exciting way possible. So that day, the top two teams were going to be qualifying for regionals. And that day, we had tied with Sandusky with each of our first 5 runners scored for second place. And for those of you that might not know how cross-country races work, there's usually up to about 7 or 9 runners per team. First 5 are going to be scored based on their place, and the lowest score wins, unless there's a tie. In which case the 6th place runner is going to be the tiebreaker. And so we realized what was happening is each of us was finishing the race that day. Emily and Sarah and Aaron, and I believe Katrina as well. We realized what was happening. All of our parents were shouting at us. They were scoring it up and adding up the points for each team. And we ran from the finish chute. We saw our 6th runner, Lauren McComas, with a Sandusky girl close behind her. And so we immediately sprinted over to the very edge of the course because, again, you could see everything. We were exhausted and breathless and just cheering her on that this was our one chance to be able to make regionals. And Lauren actually finished exactly 1 place ahead of the Sandusky girl that day, and we qualified for regionals for the first time in school history. The next week I ran the fastest race in my high school career at Tiffin to qualify for the state meet. And then of course the following week after that, I ran that absolute best and probably most complete race of my life at Sayre Downs to become an All-Ohioan. And all these stories obviously are great. I know this is obviously an athletic hall of fame. They're some of the greatest moments in my high school running career, and it makes sense that I have some of the strongest memories associated with them. But interestingly enough, one of my most memorable moments from cross country doesn't actually even involve running, and it's not even about me. I remember way back summer, just before senior year, we had summer morning practices at the old high school, usually pretty early in the morning before it got too warm out, and going into the old bus station to use the bathroom, and after running to get water. And we were actually finishing stadium lunges up and down the bleachers on a Friday morning. Coach Nickel just happened to mention how hard lunges can be. He mentioned one of his former runners lunged an entire 400 meters or after practice one time. And then suddenly a handful of runners, mostly guys, I think a couple of the girls decided to be stupid and do it too. Decided they were going to break that record. I remember Lance Stroutman finding this decent sized brick along part of the old Harding, must have been falling apart at that point, and deciding that he was going to complete the challenge with it. Someone also found this humongous chunk of what I can only assume was some sort of broken slab of concrete. And we all laughed and joked, oh yeah, somebody should lunge with this instead. And we were kidding, of course, but Nicholas Garris decided he would be that person. Everybody else, leftover teammates who were smart and rational, were walking alongside each person to make sure that they were doing proper lunging technique, no knees hitting the ground. And the 5 or 6 or so runners that decided to lunge made it all the way to the 400 mark. And then most of them were struggling to that 500 mark to say that we technically had the record. But that wasn't enough for Nick. He decided, I made it this far, I might as well make it to the 600 mark. I think 1 or 2 other runners, maybe Atlantis, maybe Corey, Stevens, might have made it to the 600 meter with him, and then before they collapsed over on the side of the track. But of course, Nick being Nick decided he was going to be the sole winner of that record. He was way too competitive. and trekked on for just another 100 meters. That's it. By the time we were nearly reaching that 700-meter mark, I knew he wasn't stopping until he reached the true finish line of the track. I looked over him, and he must have known what I was thinking because he suddenly said, "I can't just stop here." The story ends with Nick reaching the finish line, having completed an entire 800 meters of lunges with a newly dubbed Jack Rock in his arms, and then literally couldn't walk for 2 days. Literally. And some of you, or a lot of you, or most of you, might be a little confused right now. Why would I be telling a story starring someone else in my own Hall of Fame induction, and that someone else isn't even running during the story? And I just think it's a really important point to illustrate the type of people I grew up around, both in classes, in running, and throughout life. I can already think of a dozen more stories like this involving my other teammates throughout all of my 4 years here, and each of them deserves their own speech. Teammates who worked to build this culture of support and teamwork, competitiveness, endurance, perseverance, and resilience. A culture of not settling for where you are or who you are, but where and who you want to be in the future. Obviously, I have a lot of people to thank. A huge thank you goes out to all of those friends and former teammates for getting me to where I am today, helping shape and mold me into the person I am. You were amazing athletes back then, and even better people. And obviously, thank you to all my coaches throughout my 4 years at Harding, Coach Nickel, Coach Pitts, Coach Clark, Coach Henning, just to name a few. And Coach Henning, obviously, congratulations to you too. And numerous other coaches that worked with me and supported me throughout my entire high school career and beyond. To the people I can never say thanks enough, my family, for all being here. Both in by blood, by law, and by friendship family. Your constant support's got me through my entire running career, my medical career, and my entire life, of high school, before high school, and beyond. And finally, a tremendous thank you to the Harding High School and Hall of Fame Committee for scouring through what I'm sure was just endless applications of former student athletes who all encompass this absolute excellence in their field and somehow came out with my name, questionnaires. I'm just so grateful to those that submitted my name and career for consideration, humbled to even have been in the running, pun intended, and beyond honored to have been chosen by y'all. So thank you all again so much.
Taylor White, welcome to the Hall of Fame.